Don't suppose you'd teach me that rope spear?
And to vault, should I use secrets?
I can make you share, Scorpion.
Yeah, welcome into Combat Talks Black. I'm here with my special guest, LegendaS, and we also have Vic Novo here translating for us. And what we're talking about today is how we came to Mortal Kombat Mobile and the events that led us to pursuing the paths that we've pursued in the game and how we became friends in doing so. It's a very interesting story because a lot of things have happened by chance, and so much of it has come about because of the community in the game. For my part, when I started playing Mortal Kombat Mobile, I was not a competitive player of the game. I basically played the game to collect the cards, get the characters and the equipment, and I spent a lot of time building up my roster. And it wasn't until we started getting these event towers, starting with the Tower of Horror, which wasn't a very difficult event tower, but it represented a brand new challenge that came to the game. But what really started this journey for me was the Lin Kuei Tower. And originally, I had wanted to upload videos of my pack openings, and the Twitter videos were too short. They only allowed videos that were 2 minutes and 20 seconds. So I started a YouTube account basically to be able to showcase pack openings within the game. At the same time, a little bit later, a few months later, the Lin Kuei Tower came around. And for players at the time, this was a very big event. I still remember very clearly what it was like when I was watching the Combat Cast Mobile with Tyler and Mick, and they were announcing the new features. And when they talked about Sub-Zero's brutality and they announced the gear, I was blown away. I couldn't wait to play this event. And then when we started playing the tower, I think it was December of 2019, the level of challenge was very surprising. There were boss fights every 10 fights, and when we got to the higher levels of the tower, even just the normal battles were incredibly challenging. So all this time, I decided to start recording my fights on YouTube, and I recorded, I think it was the second time around, my battle 194, because I remember that being a very challenging battle. And it surprised the heck out of me, but the YouTube video that I created for 194 started getting thousands of views on YouTube. And I realized at that time that this battle was a very challenging battle for a lot of players, especially players who were new to the game. So I got the idea that I should create a guide for how to complete this battle. And then when I got towards the end of this event, I had the crazy idea to complete this battle using only silver cards because I had a strategy I'd come up with and I thought that I could complete it this way. I didn't know if I could do it. I had been learning a lot actually from the community. There were a lot of players. I wasn't a very good player at the time myself. So there were a lot of players who were sharing information, ideas, and strategies. And a few of those players, Lefteris, a number of players who were on Twitter at the time were discussing using a special one talent tree to take down bosses, using Strike Force Johnny Cage, using certain characters. And I knew that Silver Kenshi had a very good special attack one power drain wise. I had Silver Johnny for power draining characters, and then I used Silver Scorpion for stunning. But I put this team together. I was able to beat 194 using only silver cards, but also I did use tower gear and I used revive equipment because this was a very challenging battle. But I had no idea at the time how inspirational and transformational this particular battle would be for one player out there who was watching. And that player was LegendaS.
Yeah, so after I was watching that battle with silver players, it was huge explosion in my head, and comparison to rest of the all YouTube videos about when the people struggling playing the same fight but with diamond fully fusioned diamonds, they couldn't go through, and they were crying about that. And this video was such an amazing for me. It was turning point for me to re-watch my vision of this game, how it could be mastered, how it could be skilled, and such an amazing, interesting approach to play this game this way.
Yeah, and I guess this was one of the things that I was only just becoming aware of at the time, because I think I had a few comments on my channel from LegendaS at the time, and I wasn't really aware of who he was as a player, but I still really love to engage with all of the community on my channel from YouTube, because Twitter and MK Mobile were a big part of what I did as a player. I was kind of community first before I started making videos. So my involvement in community really drove how I would interact with players online. I was able to connect with him and hear kind of, you know, what he was doing with 194, and that was one of the first videos that I saw of his, was how he was able to beat the 194, and I think it was a really low fusion MK11 Scorpion, you know, something like that, you know, that he had taken and had beat. And it just the fight was going on, you know, for a long time, but somehow, you know, he wasn't getting killed, and he was still able to kind of keep this loop going and slowly chip away at the health of this MK11 Scorpion, enraged on 194, who had, you know, like a fatal blow ready to go, but, you know, wasn't able to get him, and he was able to complete the battle that way. And that was the first video I think I saw of his, and that was what made me aware of what he was able to do, and I was very impressed with that. And I had no idea what was going to be coming later on with the other challenges that we would be seeing in the future. But that was when I first became aware of him as a player, and that was the first of his gameplay that I saw. And I was certainly inspired by his drive and his ability to persevere to be able to win a match against overwhelming odds that were not in his favor. So even back then, I recognized he was a remarkable player. I think I at least commented on that video back then, but I don't think it was until, you know, later when we started to get into some of these other battles and other towers that we really got to see what he could do. And I think the community really became aware of LegendaS worldwide once we got into what's coming up again soon, finally, the Adenian Tower. I think there were a lot of players who were very frustrated with that tower, ready to throw in the towel, ready to give up. And that was the video that stuck out for me, you know, was him taking on, I forget what it was, I think it might have been 180. You know, some of just the ridiculous boss fights that we had, but him just working down these regenerative bosses. I think it was Day of the Dead Katana regenerating with Assassin Jade, and I remember his theme of, just don't give up. And it didn't matter how many tries he took at it, just over and over and over again. And I think there were even points in that match that he showcased where he got KO'd and they started to regenerate because of Day of the Dead Katana's passive. But he kept at it, and he was able to beat it with this very low fusion MK11 Scorpion. And I think that was an inspiration to so many players to see that level of skill being used, when obviously what the developers and the people in the game were trying to do was trying to convince people that the only way that it could be beaten was buying packs and using tower gear. So it was very impressive, and it was a very inspirational thing to see at the time. And I think it managed to keep a lot of players in the community and playing the game because they realized this was an approach that could be taken that they hadn't thought of before. So many players out there thought the gear was necessary to be able to complete a battle. And LegendaS showed us that skill was more important than the gear. So it was a very defining moment for, I think, the entire community in terms of how we approach the game.
I was so impressed with that 194 level video, and only that gave me a reason to start making my videos and create my YouTube channel. It was actually much of repeating the previous his answer. I don't know more, to be honest, because he was saying about how he was impressed with this, and that was turn out points for creating YouTube channel and starting recording his videos, because he was impressed with it. Yeah, so.
Well, and I think, that was certainly, like I said, that was one of the first videos of his that I saw, was him playing 194. So I think that's kind of where I had seen my first impression of him as well. So, that fits. And it's something that we've talked about a lot, that this was the inspiration, but it's true. I think, from the videos that I saw, that's when I saw his channel first got started. So that's pretty awesome. I know that we've discussed it, but it is pretty amazing to think that just this idea is what created that spark in him to begin down this path. But then what we saw was how much further LegendaS was able to take it, because my idea had just been to create kind of as much of a challenge as possible and see if I could overcome it. But I still limited myself to thinking, you needed to have tower gear to get it done. You needed to have revive gear. Even with the talents that you had, it was going to take a lot of attempts. And I will not lie, the attempts that I spent getting that 194 video, it was a lot of attempts. I think I spent a good, refresh or two getting the rhythm, figuring it out, and finally being able to pull it off. But where things came full circle was very recently when we had the return of the Linkway Tower. And what impressed me the most with what LegendaS was able to do is he took my original idea, playing the match with just silver cards only, but went it a step further with no tower gear, and obviously no revive gear, because when he completed the match, he was able to do it without ever getting hit, as a completely flawless victory using only silver cards. And for me, this was the apotheosis, the highest ideal that could be achieved out of the idea that I'd originally had. And I realized that there was no way that anybody could do any better than that using silver cards. So he gave me a new idea, and I realized the only way that I could approach this in a way that hadn't been done before and had not been perfected was to play it with bronze cards. And I was very happy to have that opportunity. And it took me many, I don't even know. I didn't even count how many attempts it took me with the bronze cards to beat it. And in this case, I allowed myself to use tower gear just because I don't know if it is possible. But like I said, I think if there's anybody out there who could redefine, what is possible to achieve as a player, it would be LegendaS. And we talked about this. I was actually, speaking back and forth with him a lot as I approached this battle. And he had even shared to me, well, the best way to do it would be using no tower gear. And I just thought, well, we'll see what can happen. And he was still able to take it and using Shaolin Master Kung Lao put together a bronze team supported by that gold card that, again, had a flawless victory there. And I thought that was amazing. But there's only one player, I think, in the world that may be able to do this only with bronze cards and with no gear. But I would never want to see somebody go through the agony that it would take to do that, because it's such a difficult match. And one of the things I wanted to share, part of the reason why I thought it was necessary to use the gear myself, and we can debate this potentially, but LegendaS and I think both agree that the fact that MK11 Jade's passive was there, and you had bronze cards that did not have any ability to stun a character consistently, I think we sort of resolved that, you needed to put various combinations of gear together to approach this match. And I think it was one of the things I would share some strategies with him, but he was kind of careful because he wanted to make sure that I got the joy of having that achievement myself without his assistance. And he provided some suggestions, but ultimately I ended up sticking with my own approach to how I decided to fight the battle. And so I thank him for that, there was a lot of struggle on my part, but he made sure from his perspective, that I would enjoy the victory as my own accomplishment that I came to through my own hard labor and strategy and many hours of figuring out how to complete it. And I think that was the time that we really connected and became friends. We'd had a mutual respect for each other before, but it was going through this experience and understanding how he approached matches and how he played the game at his level. Having that experience beating 194 with bronze characters what really put me in his shoes as a player. And I could appreciate how he approached each match and the level of work and time that he invested in mastering these characters and being able to beat these battles. So that took it to a whole nother level. For me as a player, I believe I developed a whole another level of skill in taking that on. And I thank him for that, but it was also where we got to really become friends in a different way, and it took our friendship to another level.
Okay, so the day when I saw that 194 level fight was really impressed, and at that moment you were kind of my idol. And when I was trying to get that battle with silver team without any tower gears, I was trying to achieve that result to be able to kind of impress you back.
You certainly succeeded. So
yes,
that was very impressive as hell.
Thanks. And but that was kind of my trying ability to impress you to be able to start and have conversation with you on kind of equal level, because before I was think myself as a casual player and you were as a like top highest level player in my mind. But I spent a lot of time to be able to achieve that, to be able to try and to make this connection on the same level, to be able to feel as a real friendship between us, as well. As well as I want to say big thank you to Star in Sky and Ment to be introduced by them to you, and they kind of pointed at my videos to you. I believe that was also.
Yeah, I think there was no doubt. It's interesting because I think by the time, LegendaS, that you made your 194 video perfecting, the silver cards and doing the flawless victory with the no tower gear, I think, the entire community was already very well aware of what you were able to achieve in the game. And I already had a significant amount of respect for you. Even then, as a player, I was in awe of what you could do and accomplish in the game. And for me, like you said, this was a very special connection for us, just because this was a very personal match and a very, inspiring match for you, and a very meaningful and important match for me in terms of what I had achieved as a player and what I had done with my YouTube channel and overall in my career for NK Mobile. It had so much significance. So watching that match just, it blew me away. And like we talked about, it set a fire burning within my heart. I knew I had to figure out a way to take that to another level. And I realized pretty quickly, like we talked about, the only level that we could go to from there, with silver already being fully achieved and completed, was the bronze. And we both at the same time realized that was where we should take it next. And like I said, the match that you completed with Shaolin Master Kung Lao and the Mythbusters episode that you put together was just phenomenal. And from my perspective, to be able to achieve 194 as the bronze beatdown match that I put together, the amount of time that I invested in that and the amount of skill that I had to build as a player with those individual cards, the level of understanding that I had to reach with the game was a level that I have not achieved elsewhere in how I play and how I approach the game. So that was the beginning, really, I think, of it went from a level of mutual respect to a deeper understanding and a friendship, and realizing that the level of struggle and the time invested in creating the battles that you create and showcase on your channel. I had never quite been in that position before, and there were things that we talked about where, the amount of time that you just have to hold certain patterns in the game and the margin of error being so slim, you could record an entire match and just one mistake or one error could destroy it all. And I had that happen a few times with 194, many times actually, where I had basically a perfect run going, and I would reach MK11 Jade, and because of her passive and the chance that was involved there, because you could not stun the character essentially using the bronze cards, in an effective, reliable way. It was all up to whether or not I could overcome that passive, and it came down to almost a random chance at the end. Luck. I know that you like to say there is no luck involved, that you create your luck, and I'm very familiar with luck. There's an acronym that I have for it in the work that I do, where luck is labor under concentrated knowledge. It's again the idea that there is not luck involved. It's just, if you know enough and you focus your energy and you work hard enough, you can overcome your challenges. You don't rely on luck. But in this case, in this battle, it was like I had to approach it so many times. And then at the end of the day, the only way I was able to get through it with those bronze cards was, like because I had a combination of that deeper knowledge in the skill plus a little bit of luck on my side, because I don't know how else I could have achieved that. And that's why I said to you, it was LegendaS, you were the first player who I shared my victory with, and I explained it to. And I remember you were responding to me, telling me I was such a great player for being able to achieve this. And I said, nope, I'm the luckiest player at the end of the day, because it's funny and it's ironic, but it came down to some of the luck just because of the way the MK11 Jade's passive worked in this match.
So he's pretty much agreed with a little bit of luck, like you're saying. Yes, it is in the game, but he would call it, he kind of arguing with that luck term. For some reason, he's saying it's accident. But to me, it doesn't have much difference, to be honest. But yeah, anyway, he agreed, small chance persists there. So
well, and I completely appreciate what he's saying, because insofar as the rest of the match with Scorpion, with Cabal, there was no luck involved. There was only skill. Those characters with the passives that they had, you can isolate all the variables, you approach it a certain way, and you visualize it, you can get it done, you can beat it. With Jade, unless you have something to counteract that passive, which none of the bronze cards really effectively have, and you cannot necessarily get from gear. That's the problem, because he did an amazing job of defeating Jade's passive using Silver Jackie Briggs's stun passive to counteract that. But again, my point is, because with the bronze cards, you did not have an effective way that you could stun that character consistently. None of the cards had that as one of their special abilities. You didn't have a way you could put it on there that consistently would work with the gear. There was still this little bit of chance of luck that could not be eliminated, where, he could call it an accident. I kind of tend to agree with that too, because it's almost like a happy accident when you finally are able to beat it. But because of the way that the passive was working, it made this so difficult. And I remember he was saying, since I beat the bronze match, he was congratulating me as being this amazing player, and I said, no, I'm not this amazing player. I'm just the luckiest player now, because I've achieved it with this level of luck, to finally come through this, because it didn't even seem that it was possible. And the funny thing was, that was a match that I was about to drop, because one of the things that LegendaS and I know about the game that probably few players understand on the level that we do is, in some cases, the game just won't pick up your input. Like, it will actually drop an input to attack from time to time. And it can be very inconvenient sometimes when this happened. And I had this happen in that match when I was attacking Cabal, that it dropped my input on Johnny and KO'd my character immediately. And thankfully I had the revive from the gear that I was using, the accessory that gave me the extra life, the Rockin' token. And I was able to use a revive, but typically at that point, if I had wasted that opportunity before Jade, it was like I knew for certain if I got to Jade, my character would probably be KO'd, because I couldn't predict when her passive was going to activate, and then there would be some unblocked attack, or uncountered attack rather, that would come from her that would KO my character, and I would have to use that revive. So I thought, well, should I reset this? And if you watch the video, there's a point where I'm selecting a combo ender, and I was considering just closing the match and resetting at that point. And I thought, this is not how you achieve more and you become, the sort of player that I was aiming to become at that point in time. You have to see it through. You have to learn from every experience. And every, like Legenda says, every, defeat is a step. It is part of the path to achieving victory. And I thought, I need to complete this match regardless, because there's possibly something I can learn from this experience, even though, it seems like it's done right now. So I completed the combo ender, and I continued to play, and somehow I was able to win. And I couldn't believe it when I won. I actually yelled out loud, and my son and daughter were there. They were pretty surprised. And they came over, and I uploaded it, and I let them be the first people to see me complete the match. I showed it to my son first. So it was a very special moment, because I'd been working on it for days trying to achieve it, and I did not know if it could be done. We discussed it back and forth, and the thing that I appreciate the most about LegendaS, I have to say, in getting to know him better, is the way that he has an open mind always, and a willingness to learn. And in my experience, that's what separates people who are high achievers in life from people who aren't. People who are arrogant and think that they're the best at everything are typically the people who don't achieve very much in their life, in my experience. It's the people who are humble and who are willing to listen and willing to learn and willing to take all the information that they can get and any opportunity that they can learn from to make themselves better. Those are the people who change the world, change, in this case, Mortal Kombat Mobile, and how we all perceive it and how we all think that the game can be played. They redefine it because they have that kind of that curiosity, that openness in their thinking. And I learned a lot from him, because I like to think that I was humble and I approached the game in an open way. But again, he's always one who can come back and redefine that for me, because there are certain things that you write off. Like I write off Swarm Queen Devora, and he's, next thing I know, he's got her up on his channel, and he's showing everything that can be done with Swarm Queen Devora. So again, that's where, through that experience, I think we found, just a deeper level of respect and friendship through admiration of how we approach things and doing things differently. And for me, it's just so refreshing to talk to somebody who has that level of skill, but still a willingness and openness to learn. Humbleness gives him the opportunity to always make himself just that much better every chance that he has. So my respect for that.
Friendship. Aaron Black wins. Flawless victory.
And we would like to discuss a lot more. I express my great gratitude and respect to you, my friend. And you must subscribe to the YouTube channel, MWNG45, where you can listen to others' podcasts and the incredible gameplay from the old school. I will leave a link to the MWNG45 channel in the description. Let me know if you want more podcasts and with which YouTuber. Also suggest topics for discussion on the podcast that you care about. If you're a beginner or an experienced player, join our Fire Garden in Discord, where we can share tips and help each other in passing the towers and share our own awards. Unfortunately, I will not be able to devote all the time and help with advice. And in the Discord chat, you can always ask for advice. Use the website Mobile Source. Come where you can find many useful features. I remind you that I don't speak English, and creating such videos takes a lot of time and sometimes several days. Therefore, show me by your activity that you are interested in my videos. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, write comments, ask questions and like. It depends on you how soon I will release the next video when it gets 1000 views and 100 likes.
Don't forget, there are no useless cards. In Mortal Kombat Mobile, there are only players who don't know how to use them. Get over here!
Before ending the video, I would like to thank my sponsors who help and support my YouTube channel. And if you want to help or support my YouTube channel, you can do it on my Boosty account, where by becoming my subscriber, you will receive exclusive content that will not be released on the YouTube channel.
Get over here! Friendship. Scorpion wins. Flawless victory.
I got the cash in the bag, stadium packed. Born a rock star in this life, gonna live it up on the attack. Baby, I'm bad. I just wanna get caught up in this life. I'm crazy, I'm mad. Doing no cap. Only God wants you better go live it up. Cash in the bag, stadium packed. Baby, I'm bad. Baby,